Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about how can I change my perceptions or my beliefs about me. Today we're going to talk about the perceptions that we have about ourselves, and think how important this topic is, because everything in our life really flows from the way that we see and the things that we believe or think about ourselves. We know that everything we do for a reason, and we know that our beliefs drive our behavior. So whatever it is that I believe about myself is going to show up in my behavior, which then creates the outcomes that I experience in my life. Now think about this. We also know that 90% of the time, sometimes even more than 90%, we are on autopilot, which means the subconscious part of our brain is driving our behavior. We are just behaving or operating on autopilot. We're not really consciously aware of what we're doing or why we're doing it. Now, if 90% of the time we're on autopilot and we're having experiences in our life, we're having interactions with other people, we're listening to music, we're watching a movie, we're observing other people, if the conscious part of our brain is turned off and the subconscious is what's operating, this is what occurs. Because if you remember, the way our subconscious works is it's not the rational part of our brain, so it doesn't really think about or question anything. It just accepts what's there. So if it's my subconscious that's engaged and things are happening around me, and maybe I'm with a friend, I just do something and my friend jokingly says, "Randy, you're so stupid." If I'm on autopilot, my subconscious hears those words. They come into my brain. "Randy, you're so stupid." My subconscious accepts that statement, accepts it as true, and then looks for evidence to support that statement or that belief. So we live in a world that is really a world of scarcity, where we're fear-based instead of love-based in most of what we do. Most of the media, news media for sure, is focused on the negative, but media just in general tends to glorify or to talk about all of the problems, the pain, the unhappiness that exists in life. And if 90% of the time we're in our subconscious, we're hearing and observing those messages and those situations, and our subconscious is just accepting it and saying, okay, that's the way the world is, and that is who I am. So I try a new behavior and I don't do it very well. And so I have thoughts in my head of, "Randy, why did you even try that?" Or, "Randy, you screwed up again." Or, "Randy, you're such a failure." Those thoughts, again, so even if those are not verbalized, those are thoughts that stay in our subconscious. Our subconscious accepts it and looks for evidence to reinforce or to support those beliefs. So most of us have a foundation in our beliefs about who we are that I believe is incorrect, that's not true. We have so many beliefs that are limiting beliefs that hold us back and that keep us from reaching our full potential. Even the idea of the amount of our brain that we use, which is less than 10%, is probably connected back to our beliefs about ourselves. The truth is, none of us really know what our potential is. I believe that we are limitless, that we can do and achieve anything that we truly believe that we can, and that we want bad enough that we're willing to do the work. So it starts with, we need to have a desire. So if I want to change my perception about myself, first of all, I have to recognize that I have a perception. Sometimes we don't even realize that. We just are so much on autopilot that we just think the way that we think is the way that it is. It isn't a belief, it isn't a perception. This is just who I am. No, I am who I think that I am. And if I've got a whole bunch of subconscious limiting beliefs about who I am, then that's who I am. So I first have to recognize that I have these beliefs about myself. I have to have the thought or the desire to consider whether or not those beliefs are true or accurate. That usually comes about because we're experiencing something in our life that we don't like, that makes us unhappy or fearful or jealous or whatever it may be. It's either that, so there's something negative in our life that we don't want, or something has happened that has brought the idea into our life of something that we want different than what we have. So it motivates us to have something different. So we're either moving from what we don't want to get to a better state, or there's something more than what we have that we want. So we recognize that where we're at isn't where we want to be. We have a desire to be somewhere else. And the next step then is to begin to look at our beliefs. Now here's the challenge with that. Our attention span is very small. In fact, we know that the average attention span is somewhere between 7 and 10 seconds, which means if I'm really working on being aware of my negative thoughts and my negative beliefs, I'm not going to be very successful at doing that, because if I try to focus on it, I'm going to be able to do that for about 7 to 10 seconds before I get distracted with something else. And it may be several minutes, hours, seconds before I realize that, oh, I've been distracted, and then bring my focus back to, oh yeah, I'm trying to be aware of what are my thoughts or my beliefs. So we can try to do that. We can make an effort, and there are things that we can do throughout our day to help us become more aware. One of the things that we can do is we can set up, a schedule where we're going to check in with ourselves every hour throughout the day, and we're going to ask ourselves, okay, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? Are my thoughts strength-based and love-based, or are they fear-based? Are they positive beliefs about myself or negative beliefs about myself? And correct that thought process. So that's one way, but there's a more effective way that we can do that, and a more effective way that we can reach into and change what's in our subconscious mind and our beliefs about ourselves. And that is by intentionally putting thoughts and beliefs into our mind that we want to be there. And so as we identify the non-working beliefs, what we can do is identify a true belief that is the opposite of that, or just the correct belief, whatever that may be, and then create statements about the truth of who we are. So instead of saying things like, why am I so stupid? I can say to myself, Randy, you are smart, you are intelligent, you have a brain that is always figuring out what's working and what's not working. You're able to take what you're learning and apply it to make positive changes in your life. So I can come up with statements. We can call these I am statements or affirmations. And you can Google and search that, and there's a lot of information out there about how to use affirmations and I am statements. In fact, I'd recommend a book to you. The book is called Limitless, written by Chris Crone. And in that book, there are lists of I am statements that address almost any kind of situation that you may be up against, or negative non-working beliefs that you have in your life, whether that has to do with how you see yourself or your relationships or money, fitness, all of those different areas. And in that book, you'll find statements that you can use for yourself and create your own list of those statements. And then we need to put those statements into our subconscious. And the way that we do that is by repeating them. And so you can have that list and you can read the list once a day or twice a day or 3 times a day. The more times that you can say those positive I am statements, the more they're going to get into your brain, and it will begin to dilute out the negative statements and to put more of the positive of who you really are and who you want to be. There are other ways to help get that through the filter in our brain besides just saying them. So I can read them. That's one way. So my eyes are seeing them. I'm thinking the thought and it's going into my brain. I can also say it out loud, which means I'm also hearing it and it's going into my brain. But other things that I can do is I can connect emotion to it. So if those statements, when I read them, I feel happy, I feel confident, I feel at peace, or I feel successful. All of that, any of those positive emotions are going to help those new thoughts and beliefs get deeper into our subconscious brain. So we can attach emotion to it. Another thing that we could do is we can attach music to it. So we could put those statements to song and we could sing it. We could record it and listen to it. We can whisper it. We can yell it. Anything that we can do to change up the state so that it's a little bit different of how we're hearing it and experiencing it will allow it to get deeper into our subconscious. And the more that we will do that, it becomes part of who we are. And so when we're on autopilot, now we've got a whole bunch of positive beliefs about who we are and how we see the world and how we see ourselves to begin to come out, and our behavior is in accordance with that. We get the outcomes that we want, which now reinforces those positive true beliefs about who we are. So the way to change our perception of ourself, our beliefs about ourselves, is first of all, become aware of the perceptions and the beliefs that we have, identify the non-working, the limiting beliefs that are there, be willing to let those go, and then on a conscious level, put into our subconscious who we really want to be, who we can be, and watch and see over time what begins to happen with that. Pay attention to your life and observe as things begin to change and as you begin to become more of the person that you really are and the person that you really want to be, and begin to experience all of the joy and happiness that life really does have to offer. Thanks again for watching. Subscribe to our channel and visit our websites. You'll see them listed below.